around everyone achieving their best self, starting with themselves from within, expressing that outward. I would like to take a moment, ask all of you to turn off your phones or put them on silence, not vibrate, not a little boop boop, complete silence. This is a very auspicious time because this time is for you. So grant yourself 40 minutes where you get to connect with who you are and what your aspirations are. And I promise you, I have it set for the timer, you'll be back to the outside world in 40 minutes. So when everyone has turned off their phones, just raise your hand. All right. So I would like everyone to find space, push away from the table, and turn and face me. So just spread out and find your area. We just ate lunch, and I want us to take a moment to do what most leaders don't have a chance to do, and that is check in with themselves. So the drum today, it just represents our community heartbeat. So you find yourself distracted and you can't seem to follow the techniques, because I'll teach you 2 techniques today. You can connect with the drum. The spirit of the drum that connects us to the continent of Africa, and that connects Africa to those that reside in America. So some of you might find a scent going around. Before we do sacred work, we always set the space. We always set sacred environment, make the container strong so that we can feel comfortable in connecting with our higher self. So representing that are the elements. We have earth, we have water, we have fire and air. I put out just to be conscientious of those that might have some air allergies with incense. One of the things that I have been taught to do before we do any work is to honor those that have come before us through the act of what we call here in America libations. It is done many ways around the world, but here today I'll do a simplistic form. And it'll just be to set the tone. And then I'll guide you through our first technique called presencing. So this is a call and response. So when I make a prayer, I'll say Ashe. Or when I give a thanks, I'll say Ashe. And Ashe has many meanings. But in this instance, Ashe will be, let it be so. Okay? And then we'll give a shout out to an ancestor that helped us be here today. And I'll do the first one, and then feel free to go ahead and recognize anyone that has passed on to the next life or the next realm and give them the honor that allows you to sit here today to continue on the journey of the aspiration, not only of yourself, but also of your lineage. Are we good? All right. I'd like to take a moment to thank the Mother, Father, Creator for allowing all of us to join today to talk about the ways that white people inflict pain upon our people across the African diaspora without no excuses, without no neutrality, to figure out how we can go ahead and move forward for what's best for our people in the next generation. Ashe. I'd like to give thanks to the 4 directions that bring the spirits from the African diaspora, the continent of Africa, to America, that allows us to say the same breath so that we can have the conversation. Because that is what conversation is, the exchange of breath, the exchange of spirit. Ashe. With that being said, I also like to give to those that come before us, elemental nature of air, water, fire. Allow that in earth, that which we are made of, to find the commonalities amongst each other, for we all carry those elements. Ashe. Ashe. And with that being said, I'd like to give honor to the healing lineage of my family, Her name was Antonia, who started this. And I carry it in the present day. Ashe. And I welcome you all to go ahead and shout out the ancestor you like to give thanks to. And don't be shy. Ashe. 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 It is in this way that we give thanks to our ancestors. Because there's a saying that we all share that if we don't remember, we will repeat. And we don't want to repeat, we want to move forward. So the one thing, as we take a look at as leaders as nectar, we want to recognize that leadership is very important because you are the blood of the aspiration of your organization. And when your blood of you, your spirit gets tired and dries up, things start to happen. Things start to shift. When there's no clarity. And when that starts to happen, you see the crumbling, or what we can call tapping out. So before we get into all of that, the talk of leaders as nectar, I want everyone to get really comfortable in your seat and do what most leaders can't do, and that's check in with yourself. So you can feel free to keep your eyes open or closed, but I just want you to just sit in your chair and just be. And as you're sitting in your chair, I just want you to ask yourself how you're doing. How are you feeling? And just take some time to feel yourself in this space. Leaders don't do this enough. This is called presencing, creating your presence. And how do you do that? You check yourself before you begin any work, just to check your temperament. Now I'd like you to go ahead and connect to your breath. Ask yourself, where do you feel your breath? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your stomach? Do you feel it underneath your nose? Where is your breathing at? And once you find out where you feel your breathing at, I want you to just sit and be with your breathing body. Just feel your body breathe. This is extremely important because the breath is breath of life. But it also is the measurement of your emotionality. And sometimes as leaders, we move so fast, we don't check our temperature. When we start to hold discussions and movements, and you're not checking in with yourself, you can leave yourself open to what we'll talk about today, called vulnerability. So just be with your breath. I'm going to go silent, but I'm still here. I'm just going to let you experience you. Just experience your breath. So something should start to happen right now. There's a possibility that you're thinking. You might be digesting what you talked about before lunch. The topics that you covered today are very activating topics. Arouse a lot of energy and emotion. It's okay. I'm going to ask that you label those thinking and come back and feel your breathing body. Just be with yourself. Use the drum as your friend and just be. Why the next practice is so important. Welcome to yourself. Before we go on to the topic of leadership as nectar and talk about the vulnerability piece, I just want to check in and see how that felt for everyone. Just a few people, they don't mind sharing. Don't all speak at once. You're at peace.
I meditated and connected the past to the present to the future.
Okay.
So
Wow.
Excellent. Thank you guys for sharing. Anyone else? One more person.
vibrations.
Vibration. How many times do you as leaders check in with yourselves before you go in front of the group you're leading or discussing or trying to create change with? No one has raised their hand. This is very important today, what I'm going to say. Leaders who don't know how to check in with themselves in this climate sometimes go into a situation and get exposed. And what I mean by that is you become vulnerable. And there's a couple of ways leaders deal with vulnerability. The first way is they get aggressive. It's my way or no way. You get very tunnel vision. It doesn't make for innovation, and it doesn't allow for comfortability of your people. The second way you deal with vulnerability as leaders is you become isolated. You deal with the crowd and then you disappear. And people only see you to do work and nothing else. And what that does to a leader is it robs you of your joy. For the very people that you're trying to work with, you now only see them as a task. You forget the community fun because you're vulnerable. You don't know what to do with that. Another way leaders deal with vulnerability is they become fatigued. How many feel fatigued? happens when you become fatigued. Usually as leaders, you tap out. This is where you see all of a sudden organizations just fold. They just don't know why they close, they just close. The leader dried up with the nectar. Or you become sharp intellectually and you bully people with your intellectual statistics. And while people might enjoy that because you're a great data bank, they don't support you and you don't grow. So you have to ask yourself, where does this vulnerability piece as a leader evolve from? Especially as Black people, highly methylated people, however you wish to identify. It comes from the root of shame. Shame to be who you are. Shame that you even have to tackle these topics. Shame that you have to prove you're a human to white people. Like, why do I have to do this? This is so stupid that talk about these conversations. We should be evolved, but we're not. So the question is, what do we do as leaders when our vulnerability is exposed and the root of that is shame? Do you guys have any questions? Or not questions, but answers to that. When you're feeling that, what do you do? Besides the obvious that I just named. Any examples? Or are you aware that that's even coming up as you're being faced with controversy and hard topics? As you have people depending on you and you have to face the oppressor. This is a hard place to be in, isn't it? You feel alone there, don't you? Your people behind you, your data, your research, it's all supporting you. And then this isn't changing. And you're in the middle. And people are looking to you. And you're fatigued, and you're irritable, and you just want to disappear. Well, that's where you as leaders transition into not leaders anymore. Do you guys know what you become in that instance? Does anyone have any idea when you're right there in that moment of vulnerability, your shame is kind of arising, you're feeling attacked, and you're a leader? What does that transition to? Anybody got a guess? I'm sorry, what? A pretender. Okay. That's when you go negative. Absolutely. That's when you're not using your wisdom as a leader. Anyone else got an idea? Well, I'm going to share with you today because that's the sore spot of leadership that needs to be looked at and developed more. When you, as a leader, are standing in the crux of something very serious and it's not moving, and it could be your board people, they're not on board with you. You believe in something so much, maybe you're a little blinded and you can't hear. There's many things where you just feel, and in that's where leadership grows. But that's where you drop your leadership hat and you become a warrior. And no one is teaching us how to ride our warriorship because you're not always a leader. Sometimes you need a warrior to manifest itself that can go ahead and destroy what's ever there. And we don't know how to do that right there and that. So today I'm going to give you that activity. Everyone got super excited when Michelle Obama was like, when they go low, I go high. Everyone's like, yes, and that's all we heard. When they go low, I go high. And everyone took that to mean that when they punch me, I turn the left cheek. When they hit my car, I just take that abuse because I'm walking a high road. That's not what that saying means. No one will ever tell a warrior to take abuse. That's not what warriors do. A warrior turns into a leader because people feel protected and they like the way. But in this day and age, we have believed that leadership is all that you can be, and warriors who destroy and take up arms are evil and bad. That's what white people would want you to believe from our ancestral lineage. But if that was the case, slavery would never have ended, right? These topics here are still going on because our warriorship has been stripped to be deemed as evil and unnecessary. But in that warriorship, what is there when she made that statement was to transmute the energy, to go ahead and ride your wave. Our ancestors were really smart. Whenever they went into battle or had to have their council meetings or had to discuss something very serious, they had to be present. And they couldn't run out the room if it got too hot. They couldn't tap out. So they had to face the adversary with clarity, poise, and make a proper decision. And they did it in this manner, and we're going to experience it. So I'm going to recap. There are times with you as a leader need to turn into a warrior and hold your seat and ride that energy and understand your vulnerability. And it is right there where you grow as a leader. But we're not taught how to do that. But our ancestors did know. And that technique is when they go low, I go high. So we're going to experience that right now. How do you do that? Everyone turn and face me and come to the edge of your seat. I want you to sit with a nice strong back. And because we're practicing, I'm going to give you a tight container. But if you were in a meeting, you would just do this. You have to practice this. What this technique does is it clears obstacles so that you can see clearly and make a proper decision and ride in that vulnerability. So that that vulnerability doesn't fatigue you, but enliven you. Because that's where you grow. So as you take that seat, I want your hands to rest gently onto your thighs. I want you to look straight out ahead. You can have your eyes open or closed. If you choose to have them open, stare down at the ground. I want your tongue to rest at the roof of your mouth. And take a deep breath in. And I want you to go back to the first technique, which is presencing. I just want you to feel your body. Connect to your breath. And just be with that for a moment. Check yourself. That's a leader. Check yourself. Now you're going to be with the warrior. The warrior orients and make sure you're safe. So I want you to feel the ground beneath your feet. Really feel that ground. Be with that ground. And now I want you to feel the space above your head. We call that heaven. Feel that space above your head and just be in the heaven and feel it. So right now you're feeling the ground and you're feeling the space above your head. And I want you to really be there. And you're feeling yourself breathing. And now I want you to take heaven and earth and bring it to your heart center and feel that breathing right there in the heart. Just feel the presence of the earth and the heaven joining at the heart center. And I want you to sit with it and feel that until you feel it's time to release. And when it's time to release, I just want you to open your eyes and let it go. And then take a look around the room. So I'm going to shortcut it and check in with you guys. I'm just going to say earth. Put your focus on earth. Then I'm going to say heaven. Put your attention on heaven. I'm going to say join. Bring it to the heart center. And I'm going to say build, and I'm going to go silent. And when when you're ready, go ahead and open up your eyes and just take in the surrounding areas, and then we'll do a check-in. Everyone okay? Okay. So go ahead and take the seat of dignity. Earth. Heaven. Join and build. Breath and relax in your seat. Alright, I like to do a check-in to see what people's experiences were, to have any questions on the technique before I close out for you guys to catch your bus. Once again, don't all speak at once. I know this is exciting.
When I thought of the earth,
I'm sorry, what?
when I thought of the earth, I saw lots of things moving around, cars, fires, and lots of buildings. When I thought of the earth, I just saw some whitish blue and clear. There was no litter. There was just so much peace. And I tried to bring them together. They could not reconcile.
Okay, so you struggled right there.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a practice. It takes time to join for some. It's okay, nothing's wrong. That's just where you're at. But as you can see, you can touch in. So you can imagine if you're in the face of something that's challenging, and then you ground yourself, you feel the earth, and you bring the peace in, and you start to join, how that can change the view. I want to know, how did you guys feel when you opened up your eyes? Yes. You felt lighter. Yes. You dispensed the energy. Yes. Anyone else?
Well, when I close my eyes and I open again, the room is changed. I don't know what's changed. It's become more lighter.
Yes.
Yeah, and I see more clearly, and even the color become more bright.
Yes.
I don't know.
No. Remember, this is to clear obstacles on the spot. And that's one thing in leadership that you're not taught. Because that's not leadership. In leadership, you have to know when to resurrect the warrior and how to ride the wave of adversity with clarity and presence, and how to hold your seat. So when you're in a meeting and you're feeling attacked or misunderstood because that vulnerability piece is arising, and you recognize that vulnerability is rooted in shame of who you are, whatever that is, you have to know how to disperse the energy. And right there on the spot, earth, heaven, connectivity, clears the obstacles so you can see again very quickly. And if you practice this over time, you'll be surprised how quick you can get your presence back, feel safe, and proceed in your meetings. So we have a few minutes left. Any questions or comments? Yes.
I wanted to cry at different parts of it, especially when you said that being a warrior is not accepted, and that was stripped away from us. But that's an important part of the skill of being a leader. And when you said that, I just wanted to cry. So I didn't allow myself to do that in the space I probably should have, because I had trouble connecting the two.
Okay.
They couldn't meet at all. It's like I was like dragging one.
Like I told the gentleman over there, this is a practice that we don't teach leaders, right? We teach you how to hold meetings, how to do agendas, how to do grassroots, but we don't teach you a radical self-care. And the nectar part of leadership is you're the blood to the aspiration, which birthed the organization, which caused the people to come be with you. And in your cases, you guys are evaluators. So you guys are taking a look at systemic oppression that is designed to supposed to help those that are misrepresented, that actually may be using us as a way of achievement for white people, just a little badge. Like, look what we're doing. And that gets frustrating when you're the achievement piece, when they're supposed to be helping. I was sharing with Teju, I feel like white people's ignorance is like a cockroach that won't die. It's a super cockroach. It adapts to everything you throw at it. What are you gonna do with that? And you guys evaluate that systemic oppression. The different colors that we give it, right? To excuse behavior or so that they can walk in denial. But that's not your job, that's their job. White people need to go deal with white people. You all need to deal with you. And in you, no one teaches you radical self-care. And what does that look like? Things like this, on-the-spot self-care. Because sometimes as leaders, you can't book a weekend retreat somewhere. Sometimes you only got 10 minutes in between meetings, and you might have left a very charged meeting, and then you gotta go right into something else. So you get 10 minutes, and this can happen in 10 minutes. The presencing, which you just sit, check in with yourself, say, hey, how you doing? Check into your breathing so you know where you are emotionally. It's okay to know you're mad going into the next meeting, because when you're aware, you can kind of check that. When you're unaware, that's where explosion happens. Then two, when you're faced with adversity or you feel like you're vulnerable and you're getting picked up, you just want to tell everyone to go to hell, and you know that's not appropriate, you say earth, heaven, connectivity, and it cleanses the air, just like my sage does. But you do that for yourself. And then when you get tired, you go and get your board of directors. Board of directors for leaders are not your friends or family, because they always have a way to tell you what to do. You don't want to be told what to do, you want to be heard. Very different. So you get your board of directors for someone that can take care of you and just listen to you. Two, make sure you get out in nature. At least 3 hours once a week. I don't care what you do. Just get out and visit this beautiful womb that we have permission to live on temporarily right now. 3, make sure you have well-being days where you give yourself permission to just clear your schedule and not do nothing. It's okay. And the very last one that I will give you and our time will be concluded is have fun in the community that you serve, so that you don't do what the oppressors have taught you to do, and you get that badge that they're your achievement, because you're wrong for thinking that. We are all the same. So I do a lot of healing work, and I go out